Welcome to Comics on a Pyre, a channel to have a meaningful conversation over movies, life, books, and shows, and maybe just a spot to spend time BSing over comics. If you like your entertainment with a bit of substance, then you, my vagabond friend, have come to the right tavern. Tether your horse by the post and come right on in and warm yourself by the fire. Tap that subscribe button, and for the next few minutes, my fellow George Carlin reprobate, lend me your ear. Batman for the NES. The Dark Souls game before we knew what Dark Souls was. Hell, if you want to know the truth, just about all the main Nintendo titles back in the day were as hard as Dark Souls. We veteran gamers just don't point out the difficult levels on these games because hard games back in the day were the standard, not the exception. But anyway, I am already digressing. You see, Batman for the NES is not a fun game. And what I mean by that is that when you play this game, you will die. And die. And die. And die and die again. So you better just get used to it. The good thing I could tell you is that when your character perishes, it is because of your fault. Because the controls here are tight and precise. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the game before we just jump right in. Batman, or Batman the video game, whichever you prefer, was loosely based off of the 1989 movie of the same name, which starred Jack Nicholson as the Joker and Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. The movie was the first live-action rendition of Bats that didn't treat him as hokey and just for kids. Unlike the old live-action show back in the day, God, I hated this show. I mean, it was hard telling people just how cool comic book Batman was to non-readers when all they had in their image of their mind was this show. So when the 1989 movie came along, I was grateful. In fact, if you are a fan of the Caped Crusader and haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you go and do, as I believe you will thoroughly enjoy it. Anyway, the game itself was developed by Sunsoft and was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System way back in 1990. Sunsoft was known to create some pretty great games back then, such as Gremlins 2, The New Batch, where the player controls Gizmo through various stages against the gremlin hordes. And one of my favorite video games of all time, Blaster Master, a side-scrolling run-and-gun game that lets you play of sorts of a hybrid tank in most stages, and a little boy that enters the burrows to take down the bosses and others. It's one of the first Metroid-esque game styles that I played back in the day. So knowing how great these games were, my standards for Batman was pretty high, and I am pleased to say I was not disappointed. The graphics are top-notch, with a gothic mystique. Controls are on point, and the music in this game totally rocks. But one of the things I remember most about the game was the cutscenes. At the time, they were, as the kids say, on fleek. So when I popped this game in to play it for this video, I was psyched. But Lord, did I forget how difficult this game truly was. It had me hollering at the screen in some instances. So before I begin, I want to say two things on this playthrough. I used a rapid fire button setting on this game and save points. Lots and lots of save points. This game needed it, as I was not going all the way back at the beginning of the level when I died at a boss fight. Especially the last boss fight. The battle was furious. With that said, let's begin this commentary playthrough. When I first start, I like to let the intro play out, let the cinematography go through, give you a little backstory on the game. Not that like it's necessary. As I said before, the game is based loosely on the 1989 movie of the same name with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. The game has very few slowdowns, but you can tell when a lot of enemies are on board and there's a lot of action. But that is not unheard of for old Nintendo games. I can't remember the actress that played Vicky Vale. Looks like it's flickering on and off when it's showing the story of the game. Okay, here we start again. It's all black, and then the image becomes clearer. And this is where I'm going to start to play the game after you got a little bit of the story in the intro. I do remember the Batmobile. When I saw the movie when I was younger, it really stole the show. People loved it. Okay. On the top left you have Batman, and then it has his life bar. You have 8 bars up top. Every time you get hit, just like just now, one goes away. Now this character is supposed to be Heatwave, the one with the flamethrower. And the one that is running is supposed to be Shakedown. I never even heard of the guy Shakedown in the comic books. You have these little tanks, and each one enemy that you defeat drops an icon. Whether it's a B for bonus, I believe it gives you like 1,000 points bonus. Points are not very relevant in this game. You're not trying to get an extra man. There is unlimited continues, so it's no benefit in doing that. This guy shooting at me is supposed to be Deadshot. You do have some weapons in the game, but pretty much the punch, even though it has the shortest distance, I believe it's the most powerful. You get to climb on the walls. You don't climb continuously. You have to hop from one wall to the other. Kind of like, I believe, the first Ninja Gaiden for the NES. You can hop from one, but they have to be left, right. It can't go up just one wall. You have these running men. Each one of them drops an icon, and there's a mine that moves once you get close to it. But once you jump away from it, it explodes after a few seconds, so it's not a big deal. Each one of the characters normally drops an icon, a B for bonus, a missile icon for ammo, which gives you 10 ammo points, or a heart, which gives you health. Like I said, I just usually use the punch button. You don't ever run out of punches. So here's the first demonstration you'll see of going upwards. 1, 2, 1, 2. Pretty easy, just tap the button. How hard you tap the jump button does matter though. You could tap it and it'll give you a little jump, or you can hold it down and it'll jump higher, of course. Another thing to note, the little tanks are moving slow when you're above or below them. But when you're on their line of sight, they start to accelerate their movement. They move quite fast, as you just see there. All right, there's another guy that's coming down on a hover machine. Let's hide behind here. The good thing about the boomerang too, if you're at a good distance with it, it hits the enemy going towards them and coming back. So that's another good thing about the boomerang. And I believe it only takes 1 ammo point. So if you got 100, I have 93 at the top. Every time you use it, 92, and so forth, 91. The gun, I don't use it that much, only for enemies that are all the way off to the right of the screen or to the left. At the bottom is a ninja Forget who the character's supposed to be, but he's pretty useless. Just run up there, just hit him before he even gets a chance to move, and he's done with. I believe he's supposed to be the KG Beast, but he don't look anything like him. Now this character, I believe, is supposed to be Killer Moth. I would have thought it would have been Firefly or somebody like that. If you stay in the far right, stay in the far left, as you see, he can't hit you. But he has a habit of staying up top. Once he's all the way up there, you can't hit him either. So as you see, I'm going to be moving over to the right side of the screen to try to get him to come down. I usually use the boomerang on him. It takes a while. Come on, come on, come on. Alright, I'm going to bait him down here. Use the boomerang. See how he gets him back? Pretty easy, boss. You're done with the first stage, on to the second stage after a short cutscene. Boom.